The Galactic Council had warned humanity about the Cravathi. 3 times, to be exact. They are apex predators, the Velusian ambassador had chittered nervously, his crystalline eyes reflecting genuine fear. Their homeworld sits at the top of the most brutal ecosystem in known space. They respect only strength, only dominance. Sending a human diplomat, especially a young one, would be catastrophic. Elsa had smiled politely during that briefing, her fingers never stopping their dance across her datapad. At 26 standard years, she was indeed young by diplomatic standards. But Earth's foreign service had learned something the rest of the galaxy hadn't quite grasped yet. Humans didn't fit into the predator-prey dichotomy that governed everyone else's thinking. Now, 6 months into her assignment on Krivath Prime, Elsa understood why the Council had been so terrified. The Cravathi were magnificent. Standing nearly 8 feet tall with midnight black fur rippling over corded muscle, they possessed 6-inch retractable claws and jaws that could crush titanium alloys. Their eyes, golden with slit pupils, could track movement in near-total darkness. They were obligate carnivores who had conquered their planet through sheer ferocity, building their civilization on the principle that might made right. And they had absolutely no idea what to make of Elsa Chen. Ambassador, War Leader Kreshitar growled from the doorway of her office, his massive frame barely fitting through the reinforced entrance. The younglings have escaped their keeper again. Elsa looked up from her report on trade negotiations unsurprised. This was the 4th time this week. Let me guess, they're heading here? The war leader's ears flattened against his skull, and what she'd learned was embarrassment. Yes, I apologize. I will retrieve them immediately, and it's fine, Kreshitar. Elsa saved her work and leaned back in her chair. Let them come. The war leader's golden eyes widened. In Cravathi society, allowing predator cubs near an alien, particularly a smaller, weaker species, was unthinkable. The younglings hadn't yet learned control, hadn't yet mastered the intricate social codes that prevented Cravathi adults from accidentally killing each other during disagreements. But Kreshitar had also learned. Over these 6 months, that arguing with the human ambassador was an exercise in futility. Moments later, 2 small forms came bounding into the office, small by Cravathi standards at least. Each cub was still the size of a full-grown German shepherd, all awkward limbs and oversized paws. Vex and Kyra, the war leader's own offspring, tumbled through the door in a wrestling match that would have looked like a death battle to most species. They froze when they saw Elsa, their pupils dilating. Hey, you two? She said warmly, switching to their language. Her accent was atrocious, but the cubs didn't seem to mind. Rough day at training? Vex, the male, chirped, a sound juvenile Cravathi made before their voices deepened into adult growls. Kyra, slightly smaller but twice as fierce, had already spotted what she was looking for, the soft thermal blanket Elsa kept folded beside her desk. The female cub grabbed it in her jaws and dragged it across the floor, leaving a trail of drool on the expensive fabric. Kreshitar made a sound like a strangled roar. Kyra dropped that immediately. Ambassador, I am so... It's okay, Elsa interrupted, watching as both cubs arranged themselves under her desk, curling around her feet. This had become routine. Something about her workspace, maybe the humming of her equipment, maybe her scent, maybe just the quiet, drew them here when they were tired or overstimulated. Kyra looked up at her with those enormous golden eyes. The blanket tangled around her and her brother. Elsa reached down and gently tucked the blanket around them properly, making sure their tails weren't caught, that they were both covered. Vex immediately began purring, a rumbling sound that vibrated through the floor. Kyra's eyes slowly closed. Kreshitar stood frozen in the doorway, his expression unreadable. You may return to your duties, war leader, Elsa said, already pulling up her next report. They're not bothering me. Ambassador Chen. The massive predator struggled for words. You understand what they are, yes? What we are? Apex predators, dangerous, unpredictable. Yes, I got the briefing. Elsa's fingers flew across her keyboard. They're also children who've been training for 6 hours straight and need a nap. They could harm you accidentally. A swipe of claws? A bite during a dream. Kreshitar. Elsa looked up. Meeting his eyes directly, something most species found aggressive but which the Cravathi respected. On my planet we have an animal called a bear. Massively strong, huge claws can kill a human with one swipe. We also have wolves, pack hunters with powerful jaws. and big cats that are nearly perfect predators. You know what humans do? The war leader tilted his head. We keep them as pets. We domesticated wolves into dogs 30,000 years ago. We cuddle with them, let them sleep in our beds. We rescue bear cubs and bottle feed them. We're weird like that, she smiled. We see something dangerous and our first instinct isn't always to fear it. Sometimes it's to understand it, to connect with it. That is, Kreshtar searched for the word. Insane. Probably, Elsa agreed cheerfully. But it's kept us alive on a death world for millions of years, so it seems to work. Under her desk, both cubs were now fully asleep, their breathing deep and steady. One of Kyra's paws twitched, dreaming of hunts she wasn't old enough to join yet. Kreshitar was quiet for a long moment. Then, the Council believes we will dominate humanity, that once our alliance is formalized, we will absorb your species, make you subordinate. I know, Elsa returned to her report. They are wrong. She glanced up again, curious. The war leader's expression was complicated: respect, confusion, and something that might have been amusement. Any species that sees my children, trained from birth to be warriors and thinks they need a blanket and a nap, is not a species we can dominate. You are something else entirely. Elsa grinned. Is that going to be a problem? No, Ambassador Chen. Kreshitar performed a gesture of deep respect, touching his claws to his chest. I believe it is going to be very interesting. After he left, Elsa continued working, her feet warm under a pile of sleeping predator cubs who would one day grow into feared warriors. Her datapad pinged, a message from Jixon, her fellow diplomat stationed on the other side of the planet. How's the war god babysitting going? He'd written. She snapped a quick photo of her desk setup and sent it back with the caption, same as usual. They're sweethearts when they're tired. His response was immediate. You're going to give the Galactic Council a collective aneurysm. Elsa smiled and kept working. Outside her window, the 3 moons of Krevath Prime rose over a city of warriors who were slowly, inexorably, learning that humanity's superpower wasn't strength or technology. It was the ability to look at something deadly and see a friend. And in a galaxy built on fear and domination, that changed everything.